What's up, everybody out there in YouTube land? Wrath2501 here. Alright, guys, got another one from Pop Cross Studios. This is Backroom Entities as Supervillains. Okay, I like the stories he does around these. These are pretty damn good. People have been calling me for some of the other ones, but I actually prefer, like, completely changing a character like this, but still keeping their overall basic theme. Anyway, so let's see. He's already got this is part 1. He's already got a part 2 to this. Huh. Anyway, let's see what he's got for us here. Alright, and go.
I don't actually know how many people in my audience are already fans of Backrooms lore, but personally I've been getting into it lately for the same reasons I got into SCP stuff. There's really cool and creepy and mysterious settings and monsters and entities, all based on super expansive community-driven tales. For a brief summary of what the Backrooms are, for anyone who doesn't know, it's essentially like this near-infinite system of hallways and rooms with different levels that appear differently, some being more like an office building, some like pool rooms or hotels, that people can clip into, whether on purpose or by accident, and get stuck in this weird alternate reality where they have to survive fighting off against the various entities in there as well. And whether or not you're a massive fan of Backrooms lore already, or you know nothing about them, I think this episode that I've prepped, both art-wise and story-wise, where I'm taking Backrooms entities and turning them into supervillains, is going to be entertaining either way. But only one way to find out if that's actually true. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's go! Hit like if you want, subscribe if you feel like, but either way, enjoy the show. Yeah. Day 14, trapped in Baxel's prison. I don't even know for sure what that name means, but from what I've heard out of the inmates running around in here, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Everything I know about this gross, fluorescent-lit nightmare I've found myself in, I've learned from the awful experiences I've had here over the last couple weeks, or from overhearing the freaks running around in here talking about the place. It's like some kind of infinite prison for, I guess, supervillains, except there are no guards or exits or even cells, which just makes the name Baxel sound even dumber. I think crazy, evil people with superpowers are just sent here to rot or kill each other, but I have no idea why I've been sent here. I guess it might have just been an accident based on what I heard a guy say on my first day I was trapped here. One second I was in a regular alleyway avoiding heading back to my foster home as usual after school, then I was just here, in some smelly yellow room with damp carpets. I tried calling out for help, and now I know I'm just lucky nobody came to find me when I did that. I went through tons of different rooms that all seemed the exact same, and I was getting more and more freaked out, until I stepped in a puddle soaked into the carpet, and something grabbed me. The puddle turned into a man with a black helmet, gray skin, and claws that I still don't know if they were part of him or were coming out of his gloves or what. He held me upside down by my leg, and I was freaking out trying to get him to let go, but he just raised me higher like I was nothing, and asked what a kid like me was doing in Baxel's prison. Then he just laughed at how terrified I was. With my free leg, I kicked him in the face as hard as I could. That made him drop me, but he just kind of laughed through it. I don't think I hurt him at all. Then I just jumped up and tried to run away. He chased after me, and in his creepy voice, he kept asking why I was running from Dull Pit. So I guess that's his villain name or something. It's not like I was gonna stop and ask him. I still don't know if he was going slow on purpose to maybe make the chase longer, or if I really was outrunning him, but eventually I got far enough away to hide around a corner without him seeing, and he ran on ahead, thinking he was still after me. He doubled back a few minutes later with another prisoner, but I didn't risk peeking out to see what they looked like. That was when I started getting some information about where I was. He mentioned the name of this place again, Baxel's prison, and said the kid might have no-clipped into this place by accident, like some of the others. Now, anytime I hear a freak down here mention the kid, I'm always pretty sure they're talking about me. I haven't seen any other kids running around down here, and it's not like I'm walking up to any of these maniacs saying, "Hi, I'm Jake Tajan, nice to meet ya." So the kid is all they've got to describe me for now. Anyway, I still haven't found any of these others Dull Pit mentioned, but I've been trying to find and help them. I mean, obviously I'm trying to keep myself alive most, but I've got something on my side that other people accidentally clipping into this weird place might not. I have superpowers of my own.
Okay, well, obviously they didn't they weren't shit because you didn't use them against, Aquaman here.
2 days before getting zapped into this place, I got powers of my own from this weird glowy green crystal I found that's now lodged into my left hand. A long story, another time. But anyway, before that, superpowers were just something out of a cartoon to me. As far as I knew, nobody in the world had them. Now I'm thinking maybe they all just get sent here as soon as they get powers. Maybe that's how I got here. But so far, everyone I've run into is some kind of insane superpowered murderer. Or I guess those could just be the only people who have managed to survive, because it seems like you have to be at least a little bit crazy to make it in here.
They went
In the first few days, all I knew was that my powers were to be faster, but nothing insane, just about twice as fast as I would have been before, and I could make this glowing green stuff appear on my hands. I've learned I can do more than that since, but still not nearly enough to make me a rival against some of the other crazy people down here. Plus, my stupid glowing thing almost got me killed a few days in. Somehow I'd ended up on another level of this place that looked like an infinite boiler room. It was hot and gross, but at least the fluorescent sound was drowned out by a bit of steam shooting off every few seconds. Anyway, there were some parts that were nearly pitch black, so I thought it'd be a perfect place to use my glow to light up the path. But after a few minutes, that just made me a walking target for Smiella. She first showed up in the distance as just a pair of glowing eyes and a glowing grin. But not like a pleasant, we're gonna be friends kind of grin, more like glowing fangs that wanted to eat me kind of grin. I don't actually know if she's a cannibal, but honestly it wouldn't surprise me considering the freaks I've run into in this place.
She's not human.
She ran at me, or I guess floated at me, chuckling about how shiny I was, and I probably got as good a look at her as I could without being killed. Her body shifted between a solid form and a black smoke, and there were a few other glowing bits around her, but nothing that shone like her freaky face. At first I ran, still with my glow going to light the way, not yet realizing that that's what was luring her to me. She kept ranting as she followed me about how she wanted the shiny thing, so eventually I turned off the light and just kept trying to run in the darkness. That didn't stop her though, so I tried something else. Something I'd been meaning to try with my abilities, but hadn't yet. As I ran past a fork in the halls, I lit up my hand again and thrust it to the side. As I hoped, the green glow shot off my hand like a bubbling projectile and flew down the other hall. Smiella, thankfully, chased after that, and I managed to get away. It was only a few hours later that I came across some writing on the wall that said, "Smiella chases light. Keep flashlights off." That would have been helpful to know earlier, but at least this note gave me some proof that there might be some other non-crazy people in this completely crazy place.
That's a pretty good one, actually. That's definitely good on the creepy side, too.
After my first week in, I was kinda getting the sense that everyone in here was just straight up insane. I didn't know if crazy people were sent here because they were crazy, or if they became crazy from being in here for too long. But so far, everyone I'd come across seemed like they belonged in an asylum for superpowered nut jobs.
And where do you think you are?
Until I had a run-in with Mind Leech. I honestly can't even remember what level I'd gotten to when I saw this guy. The whole event seems to get fuzzier every time I think about it, hence writing it down in this journal. The first thing I remember was getting really woozy. I would have thought it was from dehydration, but only an hour earlier I'd found a bunch of bottles of almond water, which for some reason I keep finding scattered around this place. I drank a full bottle and had 2 others with me, so I knew it wasn't dehydration, and then I started feeling weirdly calm, even as this upright, muscular man in a costume with a gross, toothy mouth where his stomach should have been came around a corner to face me. Part of me knew to try running, but when I turned around, right in front of me was Mason, my brother. In my weirdly hazy state, I got kinda happy to see him, even though I knew it couldn't actually be him. Mason and my parents have been dead for 3 years. He and I just kinda stood there chatting, like I was catching up with an old friend and this was totally normal. I told him I missed him, and he said I'd be with him soon. It was only after that part that my mind woke up enough to realize that I was feeling more and more drained. I turned back around to see some weird purple light was spilling out of my head and going right into Mind Leech's gross stomach mouth thing. I was too tired to run, but sort of hobbled away, going right through the illusion he'd made of Mason. But Mind Leech quickly followed after me and cut off my path. He asked me where I was going. He said there was no place I could go, and that this was no place for a kid, that killing me was a mercy on his part. He was obviously a pretty evil dude, but he at least seemed to have his head on a bit tighter than some of the other freaks I'd come across down here. So in my hazy state, I actually asked him where here was. He said something about Baxel's being the most impenetrable prison for superpowered criminals in the multiverse. Or at least I think that's what he said, but that sounds crazy. Even crazier sounding, though, next I remember him saying something about how this place made the infinite IKEA look like a day at the spa. But obviously that's such a random collection of words that now I'm even thinking I might have just made that part up. I don't know if any memory I have from that encounter is really worth trusting. The last thing I do remember, though, was making more of the glowy green stuff in my hands and shooting it right into his gross mouth thing, then just bolting away.
Bussy.
I guess that was enough to get away, but I have no idea if his weird mind powers are enough to keep track of me and find me again. So, as I've been doing my whole time down here, I just kept on moving.
Okay, that one's disturbing. Good design, but that is disturbing. That's like something from The Thing or something like that.
The place I'm at the time of writing, I think is the
Death
5th
moths?
level I've traveled through. It looks like a really old hotel with furniture I picture being in an old folks home or something. It was actually kind of nice finding a couch that wasn't moist to lay on, because I managed to get my first decent sleep in here.
It's moist,
but
it's moist, it's moist.
even
Why is
that
it
was
moist?
only 4 hours of rest. I think my body was just too freaked out to sleep longer than that.
Yeah.
I kept wandering through this place, ducked into hiding a few times to avoid some of the freaks on this level, but eventually I came to a set of halls that were, of course, similar to the rest on the level, but they were covered in a gross purple jelly.
Ew.
It actually smelled a little bit sweet, like it was some kind of sugary jam, but it's not like I was gonna lean up to the wall to lick it and see. I considered doubling back, not wanting to know what had made this jelly, but heard some distant footsteps behind me and didn't want to run into anyone, so I continued down the sticky halls. Eventually, I heard what sounded like a woman crying. I immediately pictured it being some kind of slime witch thing, like out of a fairy tale, but I also knew if there was a chance it was one of these others I'd heard about, I had to at least check and see. I followed the sound and got to a doorway that was partially opened. I leaned my head to peek through the crack and saw another person dressed up like a supervillain, but this one was sitting looking down at a dead guy who was dressed in similar clothes to her. They both had masks with big bug eyes and creepy butterfly wings coming off their backs, though the guy on the ground had his wings pretty torn up. The woman just kept sitting there crying, staring at him, and I actually felt sort of bad for her, until she tilted her head up and saw me peeking through the door. She instantly shrieked and shot towards me. I tried to back up, but she hit the door with such force it burst off its hinges and slammed me into the wall. She said this was bad timing for me and that she was hoping to find a punching bag to let her rage out on. She grabbed me off the ground and flew me down the hall. She slammed me into the wall and dragged me through the gross purple jelly before hurling me to the ground in an open room. I got up as fast as I could and shot some of my green blasts at her. They seemed to hit as hard as a regular punch, but that wasn't doing much more than annoying her. She flew in at crazy speed and hit me in the jaw so hard I was tossed across the room. A tooth shot out of my mouth, and my cheek felt like it was on fire. She soared in and hit me again and again and again, screaming something about her husband, but it was all nonsensical through the punches. Soon she grabbed me off the ground and flew over to a massive shaft that looked like it went down 100 stories. She hammered me once more in the stomach, then threw me into the pit. Her weeping and screaming faded to the sound of wind shooting past me. I had no idea what I could possibly do, and I was aching all over, so I just activated my powers in any way I could think. I kept falling and falling, but soon I realized that I was falling slower. The rush of wind slowed, but certainly not to a stop. I kept falling at what seemed like the speed of a fast jog, and eventually thudded to the ground. It definitely still hurt, but not much more so than the crazy moth lady's punches. I dragged myself into a corner, ducked behind some furniture, and started rubbing my wounds, not even really realizing that my powers were still activated. After a moment of rubbing my throbbing cheek, a really weird feeling came over me, and like magic, a new tooth sprung out of my gums to replace the one I'd lost.
Sound like it would hurt.
The pain eventually faded too. I stayed in that spot for the next hour, holding my green glowing hands over all my wounds until they all went away. It was incredible. But after that hour, I did find I was super drained of energy and had to sleep again. Still, you can bet that knowing I can heal and maybe even fly definitely gives me much needed hope that I can actually survive however long I have to spend in Baxel's prison.
Yeah, nothing gets out of there. This was a little bit indistinct, you know? You can't really get much from it. Even the story.
Well, I think we've got something new for the best
superheroes
superheroes episode playlist. I mean, you know, it's supervillains, but that still fits into the category. Yeah. And of course, you've all got to tell me, is Backrooms something that's worth pursuing further on the channel? Whether continuing this series or turning the entities into dragons or making a sci-fi story. I don't know, just any ideas you have for Backroom stuff, leave them in the comments. I'll also link some of the channels that I've been watching to get into Backroom stuff in the description below. And of course, if you're new to this channel and you want to see more superhero stuff, you'd probably like the SCPs as superheroes episodes, but I've got a whole bunch of them, turning Sonic characters into superheroes, Skylanders into superheroes, video game villains into superheroes. I'll link the playlist of my best ones at the end. But besides that, that's all for today, except of course for ending this video on some kind of positive or inspiring note. And the thought I want to leave people with today is an idea that I've talked about in various ways before and will keep talking about. But if there's something that you really want to do with your life, a dream that you want to pursue, there is going to be some pain on the road to getting it and achieving that thing. But also, no matter what you decide to do in life, there is going to be some periods of pain. So you can either have the pain of striving towards something meaningful to you and others in your life, pain that makes you better as you push through it, or you can have the pain of not striving for something bigger. This channel came as a result of me pushing through the pain of perseverance. So personally, I know what kind of pain I'd recommend. I hope that's inspiring to someone out there. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next episode on Monday. Goodbye.
Okay, so that was pretty good. So that was Backroom Entities as Supervillains. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I did. Like this video, subscribe, guys. Definitely click on the link to the original in the description. Get down to Popcross, like the original, sub to him over there. And he is right about that. It is good to, even though it hurts, you know, I mean, hell, it hurt when I lost my channel, but kept persevering, climbing back up, and hey, here we are, got my channel back. So, yeah, that was a miracle. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Tune in every day for new content. Thanks everybody for helping me to reach that 100,000 subscribers. Thank you guys, and bye-bye.